Hi again then guys, and so we've got another GranTurismo 6 top speed tune for you today. It's been a little while since I last did a top speed tune, been focusing more on circuit tunes, but this time we're doing a tune which I completely forgot about getting round to be honest. It's a very popular car, the Ford Focus ST 2013 model, and as you'll have seen from the video title, this is not an ordinary top speed tune like I'd usually do, because usually with my top speed tunes I tend to try to get the best top speed possible for the car on its own, and then the draft potential is kind of secondary to that. With this tune, I've done that the opposite way. This is purely a draft tune. This is not designed for the car to race on its own. This is designed for the car to get draft potential off of bigger, more powerful cars, so that you can actually race against those vehicles up around 270, 280, 290 miles per hour. So, for the suspension, I've got the ride height on 80, front and rear. You may want to lower that a little bit more, but it's not strictly necessary. Springs we've got on 525 and 625. The dampers and anti-roll to 4. Again, you may want to increase your anti-roll to 5, but you don't have to. Camber we've got neutral, as well as the toe. We'll come back to the gearbox in a second. For the diff, you want the lowest on all three settings. For your power, you do always want to remember to give it an oil change. You want the full power pack, and I have fitted NOS on this car. You want the full weight loss package, of course, and then coming back to our gearbox, you want the highest possible auto setting. Then for the individual gears, you want 2.7, 1.7, 1.2, 900, 700 and 500, and a final drive of 4. You want traction control definitely turned off because it really slows you down off the line. And as I said, this is first and foremost a draft tune. Now you can make this car do close to 220 under its own power. My tune only does around 200 under its own power because it's a draft tune. You cannot have both with these lower level hatchbacks. You cannot have a car that does 220 and 300 in draft. It's just not possible with these hot hatches. If the cars had double the power, then of course you could, but you've got such little power to work with that you have to decide which one you want. It's kind of like the Chaparral 2J. You can't have acceleration and top speed. You have to decide which one you want. So as you can see, once you drop up into 6th, you drop right down to just above 5,000 RPM. You cruise at around 200, just over, just under, depending on whether it's a hill. And as I said, this is not designed for the car to be under its own power. This is not a top speed tune where you just cruise along on your own. This is specifically for the people who love the Ford Focus ST and who want to be able to use it up against vehicles like the Mercedes SL, the Cobra, the GT40, vehicles like that, vehicles which typically a Ford Focus could not keep up with. Or even, to be honest, some racing cars. Now, as far as tactics, you do have to remember that you've got less power to work with and it's a front-wheel drive. So you will need, off the line, to get behind your opponents as quickly as possible to get that draft. And you may want to use a little bit of NOS at the start of the race as well, maybe a quarter to a half a tank, just to make sure that you can keep up and keep in that draft, because if you lose the draft you won't stand a chance, because as I said, this is purely a draft tune. Now I tested this in the Like the Wind event up against cars like the FXX, the Tornado, the Le Mans prototypes, etc., and drafting off of those cars on racing hard tyres, which are not as good for top speed as racing softs, it did over 270 and it was still not on the red line. So you can easily get this car up around 280 or even 290. You will be pushing the red line at around 290. So if you do need it to do potentially even over 300 miles per hour, which to be fair will be difficult to get up to that kind of speed, but it is possible. So if you do need it to do 300, drop the final drive a little bit lower, say to 3.9. You don't really want to go much lower than that though, because the car will start to really bog down. So if you decide to use this slightly different top speed tune to what I'd usually do, it is definitely highly capable of over 280 with draft potential. So if you're new to the channel, I hope of course you find this tune helpful and competitive, and if you'd like to keep up with new builds and tunes like this as soon as they're released, Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and as always, thanks for watching.